Today is test for Adar, Tashin Saming test. This is the sheer quality, Parshas Titzaveh.
Right, we're turning in this week's Parsha and Parshas Titzaveh to chapter 28, Kof Ches, not far from the beginning of the Parsha. Pasuk Beis. But the Parsha Kof Ches begins with the Inyan of Kedushas Kahuna. We see that Moshe Rabbeinu is told that he has to bring close, literally, he has to be makriv to himself, Aaron Ochicha Vezbanov Itoy. Aaron, brother, who's going to be the Kohen Gadol, and his sons, Mitoich B'nai Yisrael, Lechahanoi Li, to make him into a Kohen, or to make them into a Kohen, Kohenim, that they should literally serve me. And then he mentions by name, Aaron Nodiv Avihu Elazar V'Somo B'nai Aharon. And then we see that Vasisa Vigdei Kodesh Le'Aaron Ochicha Lechoved U'Lesiforet. And you must make holy garments, Vigdei Kodesh, for Aaron is your brother, and that will be for honor and glory, Lechoved U'Tiferet, splendor and glory. And then V'ata Tedaber El Kol Chachmei Leiv, Asher Milei Zivroch Chochma V'Osu as Bigdei Aaron, as Bigdei Aaron. Here he calls him only Bigdei Aaron. Lekadshoi lechahanoi li, make him literally holy, and to make him into a kohen for me. So we see that at first glance it would appear that the way to make Aaron, that he should be able to become a kohen, to serve li, meaning the Eibishter, is to make him these garments. You have to make him Bigdei Kodesh. And then later the pasuk goes on at considerable length to tell us what were the garments. So we learn about the ephod and the choshen mishpat and the ma'il and the tzitz, what they were the big Kohen Gadol. And then it was Bigdei Zahav that he wore, not on Yom Kippurim and so on. And then there was the Bigdei Kohen of the ordinary type, what you call Kohen Hediot, ordinary Kohen. So we see a fascinating connection between the levushim, the begodim that were made for the kohen, and he's coming into the etzeminin of the kahuna. And therefore Rashi says, lekad shoi lechanoi li, to literally sanctify him, or to make him kadesh, and make him into a kohen for me. So it says Rashi, lekad shoi in pasuk gimel, lekad shoi lahachnisoi b'kahuna al yedei abagodim sheyehei kohen li. So Rashi says that the whole purpose of the begodim was to make him sanctified and to bring him in, lahachnisoi b'kahuna. That enters him or brings him into the entry of being a kohen. And how is that? It's through the inyan of the begodim, through the Bigdei Kodesh, and that makes him a kohen for me, kohen li. And then says Rashi, what's nafkamina that he's a kohen for me? Is so what? Says Rashi, v'loshen kahuna sheirusu. And he even brings whatever it is in all French, in Laz, what does the word kohen mean? What does kahuna mean? It means sherus, servants. In other words, that the yesod of a kohen is that his whole union is to serve. He's got to serve. Mela, Rashi divides it. First of all, he's got to become kodesh. And how does he become kodesh? Through the union of the begodim. Once he's already kodesh, then he can be a kohen for me. That means to serve me. In other words, sherus means the idea of servant. Of a sherus doesn't mean to some sort of service, but shoresh means like a exhaustive commitment to serving somebody. And therefore you call even a servant in the house, lahabdil, kimovin. Of course, a havdolas, you call him a musharet. They call it a mishoresh, because somebody who's a servant, he does all the necessities, all the inyonim around the bayis, he's called a mishoreh. So therefore Rashi says two inyonim here, that first of all, to be a kohen, you've got to become holy. How do you become holy? He says, Alidei begodim, through the levishus, the etim levishus are begodim. Once you already got the begodim on you, and you got that kedusha, then you can be a servant, in a way, for a mishoreis, lead to the Eivishter. We see that as a necessary kedusha, and we know in Chassidus the word kedusha means havdolah, separation, something which kodesh means that it's moved out from other levels. First of all, as a kohen, he's got to become moved out and separated off. Once he can do that, then his whole union is to devote himself to sherus, li, to the Eivishter. And it's one of the Divrei Chazal, whenever the pasuk says li, means a very high madrega in Elokus. The Pnimis Hadvarim, wherever it's written li, means an eternal li, and it's not given to shinuyim in Shtaushel Oilam and Odosadini from Oiras. Elyoini Oid Lamaila Vishtaushel. And if a kohen, his union is to be Mosharis, to Eivishter, mamish devoted to Atzma, it's safe to serve him the whole time. So also to Shaila, on the part of the attentive reader, what are these begodim, what do they have to do with making him into a zamin Matthias for a mensch, that he becomes a holy person, at kedekah. And you could say, mine of kiminach, mine a mensch got to do certain things in the Mishkan. Is we have to have him dressed decently. We can't just have him sauntering around in a blue shirt or something, a t-shirt or one in Islam. Can't just have him walking around. You have to have him in some sort of a decent oifan. But we see that Moshe Rabbeinu, I don't know if you already learned, in the parasha we have the Shiva Shemei Hamni, Luim, the 7 days of initiation, and Moshe Rabbeinu, he was Kohen, he did all the korbanos and all the inyanim during the Shiva Shemei Hamiluim, and Rashi brings, what did he wear, Moshe Rabbeinu? He wore a chaluk lovan, how do you call it, a white, like garment, a white, like sort of a long garment down to the ground, but it was simple, without other inyanim. So we see that you can do the service, l'chera, in simple begodim. You don't necessarily need all these amazingly high and tremendously, obviously symbolical garments, choisha mishpat and ephod, on ma'il, on later on the tzitz, which is not really a beged, it's counted in the 8 begodim of the Kohen Gadol. And then they had to wear mishnasayim, yuchodim, special type of trousers with a ganze and we see the Koyanim had to dress up in. So we're asked to Shaila, why would these begodim, they would be mamshik din in a kedusha of the kahuna, and after that kedusha, then he can go in and be meshorish in the makim of the Eivishter, which are the Mishkan, later the base Hamikdash. And we see that that's a union. Once it was made here in the Mishkan, it went over Aaron and Lazare Midoya Beliolin. In other words, if a person was born from the Kohanim, wasn't he? And he's you have to schmooze to him. If you don't want to listen to yourself, darfst du mich reinschleppen. Is American days that once this was achieved, the Kohanim become Kedoshim Be'etzmon, and it just goes Midoya L'Doya Beli, necessity for this whole Arichas Hayina we see here. So ask yourself to Shaila, what is the connection between Begodim and Kedusha B'Klal? What are these Begodim, these Bigdei Kahuna? That's number one. Zweitens is, we find that it doesn't finish there. We see that it goes on a bit further, and you get to the Shemen HaMishcha. But Moshe Rabbeinu made this amazing Shemen with all the amazing ingredients that were in the Shemen HaMishka, and they had to anoint the Kohanim with the Shemen HaMishka. Also they had to anoint all the Klei HaMikdash and the Mizbeach, didn't they? Is a member asked herself to Shaila, what is the in the Mashiach in addition to the Begodim? And over there it's used also a similar type of losh. The Mashachtim, you have to anoint them with the Shemen HaMishcha, that they should become Kohanim. And then later on, we find that when Moshe Rabbeinu started the Shivashir Maluim, then he had to take the Kohanim and wash them in water. And so Rashi brings over there, and all the Rishonim learned that was a union for Tevila B'mikveh. Not that Moshe Rabbeinu took out a dish with a brush and soap and he washed them, but he was tevel them in water. He tevel them in a mikveh. And then after that, there was a further union that they had to be makriv korbanos. And it's also written over there, when they get to the korbanos, that al yidei the korbanos, they would become kohanim, they become kedoshim. You had to serve the Eibishter through the fact of the korbanos. So we see that the korbanos also make him into kohanim. I say, how many things make him into kohanim? One of the great Farshim sums it up. There are four main things. There's the Begodim, the Bigdei Kahuna, then there's the putting on them the Shemen HaMishcha, the anointing oil, and then there's the Inyan of the Rechitza B'mikveh, Tvila B'mikveh, and then there's the Inyan of Lahakriv Korban. Four things altogether which make a mensch what wasn't a Kohen into a Kohen. But once he becomes a Kohen, then he's different than everybody else. L'neitzach neitzach, forever, and nobody can ever be that if they're not that. And the French went on a famous story what happened. And everybody's familiar with the myth. That there was once a Yid came into the Rebbe in Yechidus. Listen, boy, if you do that to me, I'll oust you on your neck, okay? You don't do that in my classes. I'm very sorry. If I wanted to, I wouldn't even need to put my head on my hand if I wanted to lay down and sleep. So you can hold yourself for another 3/4 of an hour, okay? There was a story that a Yid once came into the Rebbe in Yechidus, and he wrote on his zettel, he wasn't shy to Torah mitzvahs, and he wrote on his zettel the word HaKoyeh. He wrote, this is his name, HaKoyeh. So the Rebbe took a look at the zettel, he saw it was written HaKoyeh, and the Rebbe said to him, well, aren't you such a fortunate person? In the middle of what he said to the guy, and he said, in what way is he so fortunate? Because he'd written a lot of inyanim that he wanted brothers for the Rebbe. He believed he had a lot of difficulties in life, not inyanim, but he needed brachas. And the Rebbe said, the Rebbe said to him that I think people say about me that I'm somewhat of a leader by the Jewish people. That's what the Rebbe said. So he smiled at the Rebbe and he said, well, I think, Rebbe, that's putting it mildly. He said, I hear that you carry most of the Klal Yisrael on your shoulders. And so the Rebbe said to him, yes, that may be the case. He said, however, he said, you have something that if even I worked for 1,000 years, I would never be able to reach it. So his eyes jolted out on stalks and he said, what on earth? Yeah, what on earth do you mean, Rebbe? So he said, you happen to be a Kohen, and I'm not a Kohen. The Rebbe said, however long I would work, I would never become a Kohen. So when the guy heard that, he was mamish ois of the Kalim with his pilots. You know, he had a tremendous, his pilots, and he realized he had this unbelievable gift. And so the Rebbe said, the base of Inktus is going to be built soon, and then everybody will have to have your sheiros, you'll have to serve the Eibishter, and you will be the shliach of the Jewish people. And so when he heard that, the guy just almost went out of his kalim completely. And he realized that instead of being a little a person with a lot of difficulties and a lot of schwierigkeiten in life, that he was asking for all sorts of brachas, that he was really a very, very big, he was a big Matthias. And not only a big Matthias, but he was important to the whole Jewish people, and Moshiach's coming any minute, and then he's going to be even more important. So he went out of Yechidas, and he became a Baal Tshuva. He became a Baal Tshuva, and he lived Erlich life as a Yid thereafter, as they say. How do you say? Lived happily ever after. But we see that the Indian for kahuna is a zach, but once you got it, then it is the most elevating thing, and it can't be altered, and there's nothing can be done about it. You're a kohen. And so also the shaila, how did they become kohenim? Through these four inyanim. But we look carefully, there seems to be a speciality in the Indian of these begodim. And that is that we find that the Gemara says in Masechta Erechim that each of the big day kahuna was mechaper of a certain Indian. And what it means, it was mechaper of a certain Indian, it means for the whole Klal Yisrael, Alle Yidden, Ali Day, what the Kohen wore, this particular beged, Alle Yidden had a kapora, that he called an atonement for that particular zah. And therefore it brings down that the Choshim Mishpat was mechaper of Ivus Hadin, that if ever the Bestin or anybody paskin, not in the right way, well, that's a terrible thing. The fact that the Kohen Gadol wore a Choshim Mishpat, that was mechaper al Ivus Hadin. It brings down that the Ma'il, the big long Ma'il that the Kohen Gadol wore, that was mechaper of Lashon Hara. That's Rachmani Nitzlah. The Lashon Hara is well known as one of the most terrible of all the maladies would affect the world in general, and our come of the Jewish people. And it's brought down in the Gemara in Masechta Erechim dort. Mamish in the same Masechta. And Korav ala Sugya Hazu, the Gemara says over there that Lashon Hara kills 3 people at one bang. One in the cloud. It kills the person that's telling it, it kills the person that he's talking about, and it kills the person who's hearing it. And if the Kohen Gadol, by wearing the Ma'ir, he had the power to be mechaper of Lashon Hara. Well, I don't know how you can be mechaper, but nonetheless, the Gemara says that it is possible to be mechaper of Lashon Hara. And for our particular purposes here, very interesting that Alidea, what he wore, the tzitz, you know how they call it, I don't know how they translate the tzitz in English. What do they call it? Don't even know. Do you know what the tzitz is?
Headband.
Headband. Right. All right. So the headband, I'm sure there must be some more dignified translation than that. Anyway, the headband was mechaper of Azus Meita. So don't worry about it now. You're gaining the attention of all these, all of a sudden, very, very conscientious people. So it says that the tzitz was mechaper of azus meitach. You know what azus meitach is? How do you call it? Brazenness. It means the strength of the brazenness of the forehead. In other words, somebody who's a chutzpan and a starke, defiant type, and he, waft schroom, with chutzpah and with brazenness, and that's called that he has a brazen forehead. He's called it's called az meita. So the Kohen, by wearing the tzitz, he was mechaper of azus meita. So the Kohen Gadol walked around inside the Beis Hamikdash. He wasn't allowed to wear the begodim outside the Beis Hamikdash. And then we see he's wearing this thing, and that's mechaper of the whole Klal Yisrael. For the Inyan von azus meita. On Rosh Hashanah, we point out that terrible. The Gemara says that it's one of the most common avedas that people fall into. And there's what's called avach lashon hara. What avach lashon hara means, the dust of lashon hara, meaning it's not mamish lashon hara, but it's sort of it. That's what the Alter Rebbe brings down in Shulchan Aruch. Hezekiah. I don't allow that during my classes. Also, I'd like in the future if you wear socks, okay? It's a whole shaila of Shulchan Aruch to walk around with bare feet. And if they have socks?
No, yeah, no.
Is a miracle that the big day Kohen Gadol, and for that matter the begodim of the other Kohenim, or they had a klolus tikashpoa in a very amazing way of the ganze Klal Yisrael, and they will kill mamshich kaporas for the whole Klal Yisrael, and as such types of kaporas that even the korbanos in a certain way weren't that powerful. And ad kedikach, we see that the Gemara brings a Masechta Sanhedrin that beneged the certain halachas of the kahuna in the actual Beis Hamikdash, that the kohen is only chayiv in certain things if he chas v'sholom does improper things in the Beis Hamikdash if he's wearing the begodim. Or if he's not wearing the begodim, he can't be mechayiv. And therefore said the Gemara that bisman shebig deyim aleim kedushas kahuna aleim. Avol bisman she'ein big deyim aleim ein kedushas kahuna aleim. So we see that the whole inyan from the kedusha, the kahuna, in a very real way comes through these inyan of the begodim. Even though Kamuvan, it wasn't wearing the begodim, he was still a kohen. Of a kedushas kahuna, he only had if he was wearing the begodim. If Amir asks himself to Shaila, what is that, and what are the two expressions, lekoved ulatif atiforet? What does that mean? For literally glory and for splendor. What's it the inyan there? So we find that the Rambam in Sefer HaMitzvahs, the Rambam comes along and says that the Ikka at the big day kahuna being in such a way was to be mafayer and to be mechabed the Beis Hamikdash. In other words, that the Beis Hamikdash being as it was the center of the whole world, the center of Melchus Ha'olam, and Einei Kol Yisrael Peinim El Beis Hamikdash, Einei Kol Ha'olam Peinim El Beis Hamikdash, and therefore the Beis Hamikdash had to be a tremendously splendid and honored, and everything had to be there, Tatlis Kovid Vatiferet. And therefore even people, what they serve in the Beis Hamikdash, have got to be like the Beis Hamikdash. They've got to also be honored and splendid. And therefore he said that when everybody will look at the Beis Hamikdash, they'll see that even the people inside the Beis Hamikdash and are doing the service of the Beis Hamikdash, they're also beautified and honored and elevated through the inyan of the begodim. Comes again the Sefer Chinuch, and the Sefer Chinuch says the other way around. He said it's not the inyan of the COVID and the bayis, but it's for the sake of the kohen. And the Far, he brings the famous cloud, a Sefer Chinuch, which he mentions in several places, and he says that a mensch is nimshach achrei ma'asov v'lo achrei de'osov. That a mensch is drawn into yonim in life, and he's either holy or not unholy, he's either good or he's bad. Kipshute, according to what he does, not according to what he thinks. And he brings an amazing dogma from them, that he said if you take a mensch, was Adkan, he was good, and everybody thought he was fine, and you put him amongst, not good people, people who don't act in a good way, then he said after a short time, he will become like them in the way, he will begin to lose the good, all the good ideas he had won't have any effect on him, become the bad maisim that he will be involved in with these people who will slap him down into Heifel Chatoim. He said, if you have somebody that he's an ishkut mensch, and he's a rosha, mamish a rosha, and you take him, you put him amongst good people. Who are good people? People what they do, good action. That all their actions are good. He said, you'll see after a short while that they will become good people, and they will change mamish be'etzem mahusa. But all you guys are battle on him. I don't mean real battle on him, but I mean occasionally you'll battle on him, and you don't realize the one who's dogma that happened in Lubavitch. Weiß nicht von der Mount, was sie gewählt. There was a very famous Rosh Yeshiva in Lubavitch. He was called Raveli Plotkin, was his name. And he was he learned in Tochet Mim, was under the Rebbe Rajab, and later on, towards the latter part of his life, he got out with all the tzidim, he got out immediately after the Second World War into Paris, and he was a famous person. He wrote all sorts of Chidushei Torah, and the Rebbe Melech HaMashiach said that they should print those Chidushei Torah in a special sefer, which they did. And he was what you might call more or less about tshuva. And when he came and he applied to get into Tochet Mim, the Frierdiker Rebbe refused him, because the Frierdiker Rebbe was the menahel, and he could. The menahel of Tochet Mim, and he used to interview all the peoples as to whether they were worthy to come into the yeshiva or not. And the Frierdiker Rebbe said, I'm sorry, my boy, but we're not able to take you. So he went away, but he didn't leave the whole Lubavitch. He was still around until the next day. He couldn't just travel out around the country at that time, in the night time. The Frierdiker Rebbe met up with his father, the Rebbe Rashab, in the evening to give a report of things that had happened in the yeshiva during the day. And the Rebbe Rashab said, what's this? Isn't there some guy that he wanted to come into the yeshiva? So the Rebbe Rashab said, oh yes. The Frierdiker Rebbe said, yes, I met him, but I refused him. I knocked him back. So the Rebbe Rashab said, oh yes, what was the reason? So he said, because he was a grubber. He said, he doesn't look edel. He looks a sort of grubber person. And he said, we can't have grubber guys in Tochet Mim. So the Rebbe Rashab said, show me his name. The Rebbe Rashab looked at his name, and the Rebbe Rashab said, you know what? He said, don't send him away. He said, right now we're getting close to the time of baking matzahs. He said, there's a group of bochum that are going to be busy with baking matzahs. You have to be careful. I don't mean that that's a heter for all you guys to rush over to the matzah bakery. Absolutely not. But anyway, what happened was there was a group of bochum right close in around the Rebbe Rashab, that they used to bake matzahs for the Rebbe Rashab and for the family, the royal family, the Rebbe Rashab's family, and for other peoples. They used to bake matzahs, and the Rebbe Rashab said, get him to work on the matzahs. So the next morning, before this guy left, the Frierdiker Rebbe has him called in, and he said, listen, if you want to stay here for a while, you got a job, and we'll even pay you, you can work in the in a matzah. So this guy took the opportunity, and he started, horrowing around on the matzahs with this group of bachrim that their Indian was to bake the matzah. So after a short while, he walked by one day in the courtyard. He walked through. He was going for one job, 2D idea, and the Rebbe Rashab happened to be in a room, looked out into the courtyard, and the Frierdiker Rebbe came in. The Rebbe Rashab said to him, "Well, you see, take a look at this guy. Take a look at him." So the Frierdiker Rebbe looked at him. He said, "You don't notice any difference?" So the Rebbe Rashab said, the Frierdiker Rebbe said, "Oh yes, I do." He said, "He looks a little bit, he looks different. He looks edler." So the Rebbe Rashab said, "Take it easy, wait another couple of weeks." He said, "Mirz Hashem biz achrei Chag HaPesach." He said, "In the new term, we'll have to decide again if we're going to take him or drive him away." And so what was the decision? To take him. Because by the time they saw him after Chag HaPesach, he looked like a different man. And that is a mefurish application of the Sefer Chinuch. Let's pick what the Sefer Chinuch says. In other words, excuse me, are you looking at something in that Chumash? Because if you are, then you're going to have to leave the room. So make your decision. Either you listen to what we're talking about, or you read your own piece of the Chumash. Okay? We made an agreement about it. Because it's not the first time that I've run up against this problem. As a matter, we see that the Sefer Chinuch is right, that if you do good things, you become edel. If you do something good, pupel mam. So once again, that doesn't mean you'll have to go running out. And some of these chachomim, all of a sudden say, yes, I've got to become, I'll run over to the matzah baker. But anyway, kach hoyo. So it says the Sefer Chinuch, when they get to the big day kahuna, why was it so important that they have these beautiful begodim? Because when a person puts on tefillin, he said, what is the purpose of putting on tefillin? First of all, it's a mitzvah from the Meibishter. Yeah, the Meibishter put it on. But the tefillin are called a ornament. You know that the word teitofes, beinenecha, the word teitofes in one of its shroshim means an ornament. In other words, it's like a beautification or an elevation of the mensch. And so it's brought down that when you have tefillin on, the Rambam brings it in Ilchus Tefillin, that when you have tefillin on, then you are different. You feel and you're aware of the tefillin being on you, and therefore you think about good things, and it elevates you into a different frame of mind altogether. And the Rambam says that a mensch who's wearing tefillin couldn't possibly do a dover magunim. What do you call it? An improper or ugly thing. It's just mushlo mimena. And that's one of the time what the Rebbe gave to the Inif and Miftzah Tefillin, which you had all these chachomim, be'ineihem, what they wanted to say, oh, how can you do that? You got all these Talmudic people walking on the street, and you're putting tefillin on them, and do it, and they all came out against Miftzah Tefillin. What was the Rebbe's answer that we see the state in the Rambam and in Adar Rishonim and in Sforim Ad Ein Seif, that when you put tefillin on, that automatically has an effect on you. And that makes you into a holy person. I stated in the Rambam. And if Guptais, that when the Kohen put on begodim, Yofim, there was pink to say tefillin. I think the Sefer Chinuch, and that caused the Kohen to elevate himself into a new world. He said, because every time he looked at himself, he saw these wondrous begodim. And that was pink to say that reminded him where he is and what he is doing. But not just stam, but even a keen island. Oh, you guys are this man is terrible. You never heard the story by the Rebbe. You never heard the story was given. There used to be Rabbi Yochanan Gordon. You never heard of Rabbi Yochanan Gordon? Yeah, you heard about him. He was an alter chassid that he used to be the gabbai, one of the gaboyim in 770. And in the old days, he used to get up by a farbringen. And whenever there was something to announce by a farbringen, the Rebbe used to give him as a wink, but that he should get up and say. And he always used to say, before he had to say what he wanted to say, he used to say, "We bet Parliament, we're calling everybody." He said, as old, because good mannen, he should good remind himself. He said, "Wo steht und vor wem steht." He said he has to remember where he's standing and in front of whom is he standing. You guys never heard the Meiser. I was there several times. He used to get me, his whole being would shake, and say, "Me bet Parliament soll gut mannen," he used to say, and it is, "Wo me steht und vor wem me steht." Then he used to calm down a bit and say what he wanted to say. So the Kohen, by wearing the begodim, he used to remember wo steht und vor wem steht. But, even later, that was Koyish Ko, Matthias even them Kohen. He's up to Sefer Chinuch. And when we see two like shittas, or two inyonim, that like the Rambam, gets a COVID abayis. At the Sefer Chinuch, there's a COVID in the Kohen, of a COVID which elevates him in the holy thoughts and holy inyonim, makes him realize wo steht and for wem steht. So as is the Shiloh, once again, what is the power of the Levushim, ma inyonim ad kerikach. And he is that we're holding by Purim, and we're holding by Parsha Zocher, and this Parsha Titzaveh is always read in a Shona Pshuta. Ordinary year, it's always read before Purim. That's the Kvias, that's the way it always comes out. And my mother asked herself, the Shaila, what is the connection with these inyonim, with the inyan from Parsha Zocher, and with the inyan of Purim, v'chol ha'inyan? So you don't have to go very far. I open up the Gemara, Masechta Megillah, and on Daf Yud Beis, it's written that Achashverosh Harosha, when he took over the kingship, he was had to go to a usurper. He wasn't really from the royal family. He was a usurper. When he took over the kingship, Achashverosh, it was getting very close to the end of the time that the Novi, Yirmiyahu Novi, said that they would be 70 years in Golus. And that after 70 years, the Abishah would take him out of Golus. Excuse me, my son, it's not a drawing room meeting here. And if he was of the opinion that the Abishah is going to, he was frightened. At the end of 70 years, all of a sudden the Yidden are going to clear out and make trouble. And he'd already, unfortunately, cancelled, due to the pressure of certain people from Eretz Yisrael. He cancelled what the previous king had already decided, that he'd already decided that Yidden could go back to Eretz Yisrael. And he even sent people over, and they'd already started putting down the foundations of the Beis HaMikdash. Based on demands. All of a sudden, the Ahasuerus, he decided to stop the building of the Beis HaMikdash. And he gave a hirah that they must stop it. That was just before the actual 70 years were up. Now, he thought, and he made a toast. The Gemara reckons out over there, just before this whole thing, the Gemara reckons out how he made a toast. He reckoned from another date, and he thought that, the old Meiser, this is what the world thinks. But the 70 years have already finished. And he waited a few days, and he saw that nothing happened to him. She didn't take him out of Golus. So he thought, now he's got the Yidden in Pekel, now he can do what he likes. He said there's no reason to worry about building the Beis HaMikdash anymore, because they're never going to go back to sitting here forever. They're by me. And so what did he do? He took out the big day Kohen Gadol, and he put on the big day Kohen Gadol at that big thing what is written at the beginning of the Megillah. You guys are doing a quiz or something in the Megillah, so you've done. The beginning of the Megillah is a huge feast that Achashverosh made. So it's written that he took out in the middle of the feast, he took out the big day Kahuna Gedolah, that the Persian king Nebuchadnezzar, Yamach Shemoy, had stolen from the Beis Hamikdash. And he put them on. And not only did he do that, but he also took out kalim from the Beis Hamikdash, clay shodes, and he used them on his table with a ganze arichas ha'inen order. And the Gemara says on the other side of the Omud, and the Gemara says that after a lot of what was going on, the Malachi Ashoras came along, and they were Makatri. What earth is he doing all this? And a hin and a hair. So I thought, so what are they doing Makatri? And he was a Rosh HaGoy, was it? Well, what did they have to be Makatri? I mean, obviously he was a Yamach Shemaynik, right from the very essence. And therefore, at Kedikach, certain people learn that the Megillah tells us that he had these 7 people that were Yeshvim Rishayna Malchus, Karshano, Malsano, all sorts of strange names. So some of the great Meforshim say that in the type of Persian they used to speak in those days, they were the names of different korbanos in the Beis Hamikdash. In other words, that he called the whole Sunnah that he made. And the whole thing, he tried to make it like a huge, what you might call, model, one in the class of the Beis Hamikdash and the clay Hamikdash, and even what the food and all that like was a korban, like a whole miser, and he's the Kohen Gadol with a ganze comedy and a ganze schwitz. What he made this Rosh Achashverosh. So why did he choose after the big day Kohen Gadol, and what did he try to make himself? What was the ganze Inyan? Bazer. Obviously he meant something with the mit. So B'derech HaPashtas, a lot of the great Meforshim learn that, like a lot of these great Rishoyim, what I say great Rishoyim, that's a rather unfortunate expression. They're like these big Rishoyim, that they really know a lot of things, but Panemius, and how do you say it? They know too much. And it's famous, the whole thing with Napoleon. You guys know the ganze Masse. What was with Napoleon? And when I get to the Alter Rebbe, in other words, that he wanted through sorcery to try and make war against the roughness of the Alter Rebbe, with the whole Indian, with the famous story, and that's common amongst these Rishoyim Yamach Shemon. And at first, some people learn that Kovid on Tiferes are inyonim in Zohar, in the Spheres Elyonis, in Atzilas, in Midas Atzilah. And Kovid, they mean for Malchus maybe, or it's already lower in Spheres. They mean for Malchus Sheba Zohar, Malchus is in Zohar. And the union for Tiferes is a very high madrega in Zohar. Tiferes is the highest of all the midas, because it's a combination and a union of chesed and gevurah, and that's because it is a oyer elyon ain't safe is meyer in Tiferet. But the Alter Rebbe brings it in Tanya Barichas in Igeres HaKodesh chapter 12, as well known, the famous pio when I get to the mile of Spheres Tiferet. And so the Gemara darshans it. How does the Gemara know that he put on the big day kahuna? Where's it written in the Megillah? Status l'chara in the Etzem Megillah. How does the Gemara know that he did that? It darshans it from the word Tiferet. Because it's written that he tried to show Yikar Tiferes Gedula. So look in the Megillah, you'll see. He tried to show, right at the beginning, Yikar Tiferes Gedula. And by the big day kahuna, it was written Vedula Tiferes. Let the Gemara on the word Tiferes, a Gezer Shova. And the Gemara says that since it's written Tiferes by the big day kahuna, and he was trying to show his Tiferes, we have a Kabbalah min Moshe Rabbeinu. That's what a Gezer Shova is. A Kabbalah min Moshe Rabbeinu, that means that he was putting on he was schwitzing with the big day kahuna, with the whole Enough in the Beis Hamikdash B'klal. You know, Why doesn't the Gemara learn from COVID also? Well, I can't go in all that's a big pilp in the Meforshim for what's nicht medactic in the word Kohen, but there is in the word Tiferes. However, what it means is that the inif and Tiferes, you think about yourself, don't bring on somebody else. It's a male if he's kommt to us that the inif of Tiferes is the Rike. And the inif and Tiferes means the Iker of Zoh, the Iker of Midas, and not only the Iker of Midas, but the Midas ain't safe him, built he safe. And according to Rav Meforshim, this Achashverosh, he was of the opinion that everything that there is in Kedusha, there's also in Klippa. There's one on the famous cloud. The famous cloud. There's one on the famous cloud that Zeh Liuma Zeh also Elokim, that the Eibishter makes this parallel to the Inyanim in Klippa have a certain similarity, but they go exactly the opposite way to the Inyan how it is in Kedusha. At the far, Achashverosh was of the opinion that he is in Liuma Zeh. Yes, he's in Liuma Zeh, but he's the Tiferes of Liuma Zeh. In other words, besser farim nicht. How do they say in Yiddish? Shena farim geht nicht. You can't possibly find anything better and more beautiful and more splendid than him. Now, he was the Inifer Tiferes to Liuma Zeh, and therefore he thought that since he's the Tiferes to Liuma Zeh, he can be mevatil the Tiferes how it is in Kedusha. And he thought that he has enough power to be, how do you call it, Mali Mumashtir on the Kedusha of the Beis HaMikdash, didn't he? Is it the far? It's only Zeh Liumas Zeh. It's this one parallel to that. Who said he's got power? Well, we see that the Clippers have in themselves a tremendous toike. In other words, Dafki, because they are the Inif and Klippa for Sitra Achra. They have in themselves a tremendous toike. Well, we'll soon talk about that a little bit more when I get to Amalek. But also upon him, since Amalek is in a way the shurish of all the Clippers, we see that the Clippers have a tremendous toike and a tremendous power in them that the Inyan for Kedusha doesn't have. As everybody knows, that the Clippers are noiflim from Oilama Toihu. And a Toihu has got a much greater power of light in it than what the Inyan of Kedusha had. And if he wanted to use that Toikiv, how it is in the Inyan of Klippa, in the Tiferes of a Klippa, connected the Klippa, the Kedusha of the Inyan, the Beis HaMikdash, and Beklal, the Big Day Kahuna, that was Kavanot. Comes again, the Kli Yocher, there's a very famous Pirush, Al Chumash, but the Kli Yocher is so well known that he was in the Zman of the Baal Shem Tov. Whether he was actually loimed from the Talmidei of Baal Shem Tov or not, basic net. But he was in that Zman. He was in the Zman with the Baal Shem Tov. So listen, guys, if you think you're going to schmeichel me out, then you better. It's the one that's going to schmeichel is me, not you, man. Okay? So you just better calm down and get it off your face, all right? Have we agreed? Take your hands down. Either we agreed or we didn't. I'll give you 2 minutes. Okay. It's a matter. We have to come together. The Kli Yocher, what he held upon him was, he obviously either saw or was makabel from the Talmidei of Baal Shem Tov. And the Kli Yocher, he says that the Inyan of Achashverosh putting on. Okay. And don't come back. Okay. Close your sefer and just sleep. I don't know who you were schmeicheling at, but if he wants to be honest, he can also leave. Come on, you're taking too much time. Come on. I have to wait for you while you slip around with your shoes and the whole crazy mindset. Come on. come on, step it up. His Amira says the Kli Yakar that Achashverosh was much cleverer than that. I have a feeling that that's our Einish to be Megala, who is the other side of it. It's well known that everybody that tries to be mitchamek is sof the Eivshtis Megala. Do you understand? Says the Kli Yakar that in Emerson, the Achashverosh was trying a much cleverer trick. And he was trying to act as if everything was beautiful and kosher. And therefore the Gemara says over there that he even made kosher food. And anyone who wanted to be zecher to eat from kosher food, could eat. And that was one of the problems. That they went to the Suda, all these Yidden, they went to the Suda. It's not like a lot of Mephoshim that they ate treif. They didn't. Because it's written in the Gemara that he provided kosher food, even kosher wine if you wanted. So it's not the pshat that they ate treif. The fact that they went there and they felt it was so important and wonderful for them that they were invited by Achashverosh. That's what the Rebbe learns in the pshat. Well, anyway, suffice it to say that he had the whole thing worked out, Achashverosh. And he knew that one of the previous kings, when they came back from the war against Eretz Yisrael, not Nebuchadnezzar, but the one after him, Shatzer, I think his name was. He came back also with a Kli Mikdash, and he made a big Suda, and he made a whole big, with the Kli Mikdash, and the Eivish knocked him off a short while afterwards. He had this terrible punishment that everybody knew the connection was with the Kli Mikdash. So come to is, oh, you better be careful, we'll ask you to wipe off this table and we won't even need it anymore. It's a matter this Belshazzar, he got punished for having used the Kli Mikdash. So Achashverosh was a pachtam. As the one on, the big schwitzers are really people, they're frightened deep inside. And that's why they schwitz and they make a whole big business out of themselves, to show that they're not frightened, but they really are. And that's the trouble with this guy that they just schlepped into the so-called Rosh Memshalah. That's the trouble with him. He talks big, but he's really a pachtam of the first order. Is a matter that Achashverosh, he wanted very much to use the Kli Mikdash, and he wanted very much to use the Big Kahuna, but he was scared. And therefore, what did he do? He made it all mamish v'tatlasa kashrus, and he made all the Kli and he had these 7 people that were his big ministers. He called them all names as if they were different korbanos in the base of Mikdash. He did everything to make it all look very nice and beautiful and acceptable. Klapi Shmayu, Lagavi the Ravishter, and a whole big arichas that he all the food. He had kosher food, he had other food. In other words, he tried to make it as if it were like he was reacting a whole inner from the base of Mikdash. Why would he want that? Because he wanted to Ki'ilu show that now the whole koyach of the Beis HaMikdash had moved from over there, and it's not, the Yidden have had it, they're never going to go. They're never going to go back. It's already past the 70 years according to his opinion. And Mamela, the whole Kiddush has come over to his area, to his arena. And from now on, who's going to be the Balabas of the world? Not the Yidden, and not the Beis HaMikdash, no him. We can see that happening under our very eyes, that that's exactly what happens in this world. And I don't want to go on to too many details, but that's what happened at Koi with the so-called presidency of America. Everything's gone over to them, and they think they run the whole world, and alles is a weg zu sehen. And that Eretz Yisrael doesn't mean anything anymore, and therefore you can give it to Arabs, you can do what you like with it, because the Yidden told them that that's what you can do. And I remember the Kedusha fed into the Indian a clippers in such a way that they think that they are the Balabatim, and on the contrary, the whole power of the base of Midrash with all the good mises, everything is a river too. So say, everything goes over to their camp. And if Achashverosh was the opinion that now it's all going to be centered around Malchus Bowl. They're going to be the I want to base a Midrash, and it appears that you can't really get on without these type of inyonim in the world. Okay, now it's me. It's this me. In other words, the klippe becomes so terrible that it's Mailum Master Legamre. I say, you think that I'm crazy? I'm not. There's a whole group of people in America who wanted to be machris that this Obama, the Schwarze, that he was Mashiach. Oh. And they wanted to say that all the wonderful things and all the holy things and all the other inonim, it's now all by him. You understand? Ad kedikach in the Mishugai. And the trouble is that he holds also. And that's exactly what happened with Achashverosh. That Achashverosh saw that everything was going his way. He also holds that way. And therefore he took out all the inyonim to make a dugma harayah kaviyohel in kedusha. Kaviyohel to make a dugma from the meaning the way it is in kedusha. And that's what the kliyota is, Masber. And he finishes by saying, "For pirush hu pirush yoko." But that's the name of what he called the whole sefer kliyota. And we see that there's something that the senior at a bigdei kahuna, Davke, takes as our major position in the hands of the Oyevei Yisrael and the Oyevim from the ganze Welt, and it becomes a koyach in the hands of the Klipper at Kedikah to be Mailum Amaste of the Inina Kedusha. Oh, but that's only if we're mad enough to be persuaded that Moshiach is not coming. And you don't think there's any going to be more any Beisa Amigdash, or if there is going to be, then you say, oh, it'll be another 230 years, or who knows, maybe another 50, 500 years old, or who knows when. And my mirror, you got to believe in the 30 Nikrim. That's one of the, over me, you dad. And I remember that's the source of the whole union of that surah of Achashverosh. And because he tried to say, forget it, Yidden. No more Geula, no more Yirmiyahu, and only turn to me, I'll look after you. You want kosher food? I'll give it. You want good wine? I'll give it. You name it, I got it. That was his shit there. And Ad Kedikach, you want the union from the big day kahuna, you want kedusha, I got it also. Now what it's in, this is Tachlis HaKlipper. And the father, the Gemara brings, and the Gemara says, that Achashverosh is Melech Sha'achris Bereishis Shaloi. This is the Gemara, the Medrash. That he's a Melech, what the Acharis and the Reishis belong to him. Achashverosh, right. And if Achas Bereishis is the Eira Seiv Kol Almin. In other words, it's the Inen L'Mailam and Medida Vapola. And this is the Klipper from Liuma Ad Kedikach. That he's the L'Mailam and Medida Vapola in Liuma. And therefore he linked up with Haman, and he and Haman became Yad Achas, because Haman's also the same mice. Hamishim Amor, he built a thing, not Stam, he built a Hamishim Amor is quite a bit of height. He built it, and it's brought down that that's a Pnimius Bina, and the Inif and Pnimius Bina is Kesser. So you do it, ain't kind of machen Lahara with it. And if kommt euch, that Achashverosh and Haman are Inyan Echot, Yad Achas. For some reason, the Eivishter saw that ultimately speaking, you can fadrei Achashverosh. Of a Haman, you had to get rid of him. Of Achashverosh, you can fadrei him, and that's what the Gemara says. Mamish in the same area, the Gemara said that Melech Tipishoya, he was a fool. With a fool, ultimately speaking, you get what you like. Aber Homer weiß, das ist nicht wirklich kein typisch, mehr als ja. Und der Fall kommt euch. This is the power then of the ine von Big Day Kahuna and the ine von Begodi. So, just very briefly, we find that the ine von Levushim have tremendous importance for in human life. And therefore we find that the ine von Levushim are ine von Maki. And we see by Pashtus that your Levushim are things that they cover your body by even Maki. And therefore, it's brought down all sorts of inyonim when they get to Levushim, that you shouldn't put on two Levushim, but Basachas for oid inyonim, because if you do, you get your Makifim confused. You get a bulbul in the inif and the Makifim, and therefore, put your foot down. And that's why we have with the inyan of Tefillah, for example, that you have to have two Makifim on the Rosh, because there's two different levels in the inyan of Makim. And there were certain sitting that they were medactic, Beklal, Kamashia, Hoya, Eshelem, to always have two Makifim, because there's two Madregas in Makifim Gum. And that's the Ina from Lavush HaRosh, because that's a Ina from Beklal, Korevel, Makufim, because it's the head, it's the rod. And therefore, we see that when the Inyan of Adam V'Chava, when they were over the Inyan of the Chet Titzaveh, so they able to dress them in the Inyan from Lavushim. And so it's brought down in the great Sforim that Davke the Inyan from the Levushim, they were a tikkun to the whole Inyan of Chet Titzaveh. Yeah, have you got some problem? Yeah, you two are becoming also. So either you sit it out, if you don't like it, you can do the same as him. It's a mega lefise. We see that the Inyan from the Levushim, well, that was a tikkun to the Chet Adar. And so it's brought down that the way a man dresses, that has a tremendous effect on him. And therefore we see that the Inyan of by Siddim and Baklal by Elach Yidden, they're always macht medachti to wear a certain Levushim. And to have a certain Inyan from Tznias and we find him showing him in the Halavushim. And Dafki Alidei, those Levushim, or those are Mamshich, a Kedusha, and a Siyata Deshmaya, ala Adar. You're not going to have any success, it's available. And we see that the type of Levushim you wear, they have a tremendous effect on the man. And the same is with the Inyan and the Cyrus, or Rosh, and Nochazal Kinyonim, but they're also correct to the Musik, the Levushim, that if you let your hair grow, and you spiel with your hair with a ganze Masse, that has a tremendous effect on the Adar. Shaloi al Pikadusha. Therefore the Alter Rebbe brings down as a dogma for the Inyan of somebody who could Cholila creep into the Inyan HaKlippos, that he brings it Mesalsel B'Saira. V'ed kama v'kama inyonim, that we see when it get to the Inyan of the Zehiros Gedoyla and the Inyan HaLavushim. Because the Inyan HaLavush, or that's Mamshich, Oyer Atzmi and Oyer Nifla, Allah. And there were certain people where they used to have special Levushim for the Inyan HaTfilah. They used to wear special Levushim, and therefore on Shabbos, it's no, you had to put on special Levushim, and one of the Kavanah in those Levushim is they should be miyuchad to the Tfilah of Shabbos, which is a higher and different Tfilah than all the other Tfilahs of Kol HaShavua. And therefore, some people were very careful with their Shabbos. They can beg it more than they are with Big Day Chol. When they get to the Kedusha, the Chulu, the same kind of Mokim Laharik Peseh. Avach upon him, we see that the Inyan from Halavush Beklal has gotten so much tremendous Koyah, Kedusha, because it's Mamshik from a tremendously high Madrega. And therefore, the Inyan from the Big Day Kahuna, the Rashi says, L'kadshoi, Lahachnisoi, Bekahuna, Alidei Abba, got it. That the Ika Kedusha was Dafke Alidei, the Big Day Kahuna, Alidei, the Inyan from Begodim. Ve'ilu, we see by the Adar Yonim, by the Mashiach with the Shemen HaMishka, the Rashi said that was a name from Gedula. If you look over there in Pasuk Titzaveh, but again to the Mashiach, but Shemen HaMishka, Rashi says it's a name from greatness. Like this. And therefore, by Matan Torah, when the Yidden became a Mamlechus Koyanim, V'Goy Kodesh, Rashi says that the word Kohen means a sar, or an important person, a servant of the king, means somebody very important, a sar. And the for Kedusha, Kodesh, that's an in that's a man. So therefore, there has to be in the Kahuna, those two in there, there has to be Kedusha, and there has to be the in of a sar, of somebody important and elevated, well, that's a Mashiach. But the Etzim Kedusha is mashma that came through the God. And the Pharaoh, when the Chosim goes under the chuppah, they put on him a baggage from the Rebbe Melech Mashiach. I mind of Kimina L'chera. Because a baggage was a Rebbe went, and this is a baggage, Kodesh Nifla, that's Mamshich HaKedusha, would help him al kol HaChaim Kulo. All the Chaim after that could be the way it should be, because he put on a lavush, what was lavush Boy HaMelech. Was the Fizeh kommt is that the Indian of the Big Day Kohuna is a Tova Nifla, and the Fatzker all the Koyach, as we saw, not in the other Inyanim of the Kohuna, but Dafki in their Begodim to be Machaper of all the Inyanim. Whether it was a Inyan from Azus Meita, or whether it was Inyan from Loshen Hora, with the all Inyanim. ושהרעים כהונה לבוש מיוחד ושיש להריק וזהו אין כאן המוחים להריק. Dus ik weiß echt de taal van hem. Ik ben echt gegaan met het algeloof. En wanneer komt thuis, we have to understand what's the Nakuda was there. And the Nakuda is that we find that there was once a Meiser with the Alter Rebbe. You guys know he had an Einikul called Nochel. And he was the son, he was the Ben Bechor, the Mittler Rebbe, Reb Nochel. And the Alter Rebbe was Zeicher that he got married in the lifetime of the Alter Rebbe. And so just before he got married, the Alter Rebbe saw him. He was wearing a beautiful overcoat, and he was wearing what's like they used to put a nice fur around the collar of the overcoat, very posh looking fur around the cover of around the whole thing of the overcoat. So the Alter Rebbe called him over, and he said to him, "What's this? What on earth are you doing, going with that?" So he says that yes, Tzitim, he feels a satisfaction wearing his amitzah. So the Alter Rebbe said to him, "Listen, I ask you, please, b'kol loshen shabakosha, I ask you, please take that off." He said, "It's a beautiful coat." And he said, "Yeah." The Alter Rebbe said, "That's fine. You can leave the coat, but take off the fur. Take off the fur and leave the coat." So, he had a tremendous tzar. He showed the Alter Rebbe that he was mamish mitzayeh. So from them, so the Alter Rebbe said to him, "If you do that, what I'm telling you, he said, you'll be together in the same place where I will be in Gan Eden." He said, "You'll be together with me." So when he heard that, his eyes jolted out on stalks, and he began to realize that he was, he was playing with some sort of amazingly serious game here. It wasn't a push to the Zach. And therefore he went and he took it off. Even though he was mitztayem or bezel, he took it off. So later he asked the Alter Rebbe, a long time after, he asked the Rebbe, my high, what's a big kapeda that he couldn't wear a posh overcoat? So the Alter Rebbe said to him, "You should know that our generation is moving into generations to come." And he said there's a tremendous pu'ula on a mensch alidei levushim. And he said there's going to be a inyan in the world where the klippa is going to chap itself around in levushim. And the klippa is going to be mishakneya b'nei Adam, that if they wear certain begodim, they're going to look, how do you call it, surprising and posh and all sorts of inyonim, and that is Rahman in Islam. That's going to pull down the whole Anushiyas, and it could pull down Yidden Rahman in it, down into Impia Klippers. So when he heard from that, from the Alter Rebbe, he was tremendously relieved that he'd done it, particularly before he got married. As he steht der Maße in der Lekuti Diburim for the Friedrich Rebbe. Comes again the Mittler Rebbe in a Maimon, and the Mittler Rebbe, the Alter Rebbe says it very shortly, very briefly, in Torah, in the Maimon from SHK Titzaveh. It talks about different sets, and the Alter Rebbe brings over there a Beklal, the big day kahuna. Don't keep looking at the clock. Every time I look at you, looking at the clock. I also look at the clock, but I only do it purely because I have Rahmanas on you guys. The Pharaoh says the Alter Rebbe over there that the whole inner of the big day kahuna came to be mevatel the yeshes of the mensch. And he says, ki yeshes gedoyla, yesh be'inin alavushim, v'ad k'dikach, that's nois and mokim el amalek. Let's in amalek. I state that in just a few words. So the Mittler Rebbe in a Maimon which is similar to that, the Mittler Rebbe says that there's there's Kavioho, there's Pneumius Amalek and there's Ketanius Amalek. So he said, what is the Pneumius for Amalek? He said, the Pneumius for Amalek is that the mensch believes that everything is true to him. In other words, he holds that he's a important yesh in the world. Everything has to be for him, and that the whole inifan Amalek is the inifan yeshes believable, and that the whole world, as it were, has to be made for him, and that the hepech of kedusha is Amalek, and the emzin for kedusha is that you know that you're not here for yourself, you're only here to be a kohen. And what is a kohen? L'shares. What he's all in is only l'shares. And the first says the Mittler Rebbe that the pneumius of Amalek is does. Where does he find a way to machen the mensch mishugim mit the mit is the inner from Levushim. He's not the Mittler Rebbe appelled gesagt. And he said that as soon as a mensch has a bit of money, he buys himself a levushim shel yikor ukovi. And he stated that. And he's mispayer lifnei abriyos beinen kvei levusha. So let's say, well, I couldn't care about, I'm not like that. Oh yes, you are. Because there are all sorts of different types of levushim. And there's levushim gashmiyim, and there's levushim k'stat yoter mizeh. And the mensch, how do you call it, wants to be mischabed and mispoyer al yidei what he looks like. And if there's certain people, they can't move without a mirror. They must always be looking in a mirror. And it's well known that it's a Isa Godel. I don't know about Isa Godel, but it's brought down a year a day. You guys are learning year a day. A state as a mensch, a man's build, a man is not supposed to look in a mirror. Yeah, they state. And therefore there was a whole big rash against the Lubavitch Chassidim, but they used to look in the mirror to see how their children are, In Lubavitch, it's a idiot to look and see where your children are, and you hear by looking in a mirror. Bring the Divrei Chaim and a few of the other great poskim from the Polishes and other great poskim, and they wanted to make a whole big thing about it. They mamish complained about it. They said you're not allowed to take a mirror to look at your tefillin. Because the Torah is looking in a mirror. That's k'dikah. There was, so anyway, yes, come sipurim, gam b'inyan zeh, Awain kana mokim laharik, he said, well, I never happened to see myself in a mirror. So the answer is, the less you ever do it, the better you'll be. Is a matter of feast. kommt euch, that the Ike Indian of Amalek tut sich in the Indian from Levushim down. And Dafki, because the Indian from Levushim are so high, they're so powerful, and they come from such a high madrega, that's the Indian of Amalek, how he chaps on to the mensch. And even though the mensch says, me with Levushim, take your arm off him, okay? He's perfectly able to, listen, English, I'm getting a bit fed up with you, boy. If you don't like the shiur, or you want to make yourself a big schwitzer, then do it someplace else. I mean, I really don't mind. Or don't sit with your arm around him, he's some sort of misken that he has to have you hold him around the shoulder. And if I mean, really, and if I come to us at the Indian of the Pnimis from Amalek, is that he holds that he's very, very important. And Mamere Vibalis is important, Be'etzim, Hamahus, everything has to go around that. And if he looks in the mirror, because he's so important, he wants to be boidig, midipam. Is he really as beautiful and important as what he really thinks he is? And that says the Mittler Rebbe, he said that is the Pneumius from Amalek. Well, upon him, how the Pneumius comes down and is Mishkale in Chitoini. And that's what the Indian said. You might say, well, that's all Amalek is. So the answer is, that's pretty much enough. Of a Venesif Lazer, that's what we saw that the Indian from the Tzitz is Machape al Azus Meita. That if you're all the time concerned about how you look legabi others, then you become a brazen sort of a person. You become so full of your self-importance that you decide that you've got to stoop yourself into all sorts of situations in life. And you might say, well, my nafkimina bezeh, so the nafkimina is tremendous. And that is that we're now facing a situation where Novi Hadur, Mordechai HaTzadik. And Mordechai HaTzadik told all the people over there, he told them all that for sure there's going to be a Yeshua. And the way to the Yeshua is to give yourself over to the Rebishter and trust in him, and there's built yourself, it's going to happen. And Mordechai HaTzadik knew that Achashverosh's cheshbon was wrong, and that the Geula was just about to occur. And the Yidna went with him, Baruch Hashem, look at what happened. So we're now sitting in a generation where the Novi of the generation, the Mordechai HaTzadik, he says that the Geula is coming. And he said, not only the Geula is coming, it's for sure, it's certain, it's all there, it's all there. He said, what's tut Amalek? Amalek comes along and says, hey, come on, you can't do that. Because if you do, people will think you are crackers. People would look at you, unfortunately. And if you're even meshuga enough to make that into a lavush, in other words, you wear a little badge or you wear a kippah, people will really think you're meshuga. And people will talk about you and object to you. That if how can I possibly hold that Mashiach is coming? We can't do stuff. If I don't wear a badge or something, I'm going to have to talk. I have to do something. Oh, I can't do that. So what do? You put on begodim from Azus Meitach. And Azus Meitach is begodim that they come from Asher Kor Kor Badera. This Shabbos we're going to read it in the Torah. What did Amalek do? He caught up with you in the way and he cooled you off. Forget about it. He cooled you off. He made you cult. And so the innocent cult is that you think you know better than everybody. And that's the pnimis for Amalek. And if you have to always be looking in the mirror, okay, and if you're terribly worried about how you look like Abit the Tveiter. Or if you don't care, mamish pnimis, how the heck you look. I mean, with certain, you don't care how the heck you look, and you don't care what the heck plainly things, then you go around and you say to people openly that the Novi says that Mashiach is coming, and even more than that, he said there's no other way, and he says Ad Mosai. And even more than that, he said on the Yortzeit from the Rebbe Rashab, He said, you have to say, Yechi HaMelech HaMashiach. Doesn't gesagt the Navi that you have to say. And he said it on the yard side of the Rebbe, when a lot of the old timers say, oh, the Rebbe Rashab didn't talk that way. I'm not so sure that he didn't. But the Rebbe of our generation, in the name of the Rebbe Rashab. And so people say, oh no, he's looking at me, this one's going to look at me, how am I going to live? I got to keep moving this life, and I got to do. They should know this is a molly. Or that, bepnimis, or this is pink to say a molly. And there's a pink Achashverosh. Why did Achashverosh dress up in the big day kahuna? Because he said, oh no, forget this Moshiach business. It's already blown over, guys. It's already been through. Now who's going to be the big man? Who's going to wear the big day kahuna? Understand? So people walk around, oh, what am I going to hang my hope? You know, if the Moshiach is not coming, what are we hope for? Oh, there's a new Schwarz over there. Or maybe somebody else, or something else, or some other Mishugaya. But they've elected a new president, or there's a new prime minister in the so-called Knesset, Rahmanin Klan. But everybody knows what sort of good he's going to bring. Rahmanin Klan. And if I live in their room, as a churchkin, and I say, oh, this is going to give us money, and this one's going to give us this, and therefore we have to do this, and we have to do that, and you do it. What are people going to say? Oh, they'll say about us with this and with that. So you should realize that even without the Mashiach campaign, people say that Lubavitch is Meshuggah. Forget the Mashiach campaign. They always had said, and they always will, until Mashiach comes, maybe even after. Even after Mashiach comes, they might say, I don't know. That's the least of my worries. But even Mashiach, until Mashiach comes, for sure people are going to say, Lubavitch is Mashiach. And that worrying about that is the koach of it. Amalek puts in your heart, ooh, I got to be very important, I got to be nice, I got to be makubal, I have to be well received, you know, people are going to like me, and they're going to like the way I dress, and they're going to like the way I am, and it is, and it is. And the Mittler Rebbe says that is the pnimius and the chitonius from Amalek. So it's not so far away. Sometimes you run these Maimorim about Amalek and you say, oh, that's pretty terrible. But you know, that's not me and that's not us nowadays, you know, it was Amalek. You know. But you should realize it's very close. It's very close. And if even a boch upstairs, he makes a sort of a smirk at you or something when you say about Mashiach, and you back away and you're frightened, that is Amalek. I mean, I don't mean that he's Amalek, because he's not to blame. Hashem Yishmor. He's been hacked in cop by certain people, but they may be being a bit affected by Amalek. Kemuven, Machilas Kveid Teirosa, and that's the whole union that we're facing now. And don't make a whole new Achashverosh, like a whole new Indian. You know, he's got the big day kahuna, he's got all this. The big day kahuna are going to come back here. And they're going to be back on the Kohen Gadol. Emerson Kohen Gadol, Sheyotze Mizera Ari. And the king is going to be the Ine from Malchi Beis David, what everybody knows who that is. And that's in the Kuna. And that's the whole Ine of the big day Kahuna, the Levushim. And so the Alter Rebbe brings in Tanya that Machshova, Dibur, Umaisa, Levushim. And what does he say in Perek Dalet? He says, Godla, Begova, Ma'alosan, Al Esem Bechinas HaNefesh. That the Levushim are bigger and higher than Chokmah, Bina, Das, and the Sheva Midah. I state in Tanya Perek Dalet. For because the Levushim are a very high madrega. And with your levushim, you can be mechaper of the whole generation. You don't have to be a big masik with your chokmah, and you don't have to have av v'yira b'ava b'tanugim. If you have kosher, Yiddish, machshava dibur u'maisa, Hasidish machshava dibur u'maisa, you can be mechaper of the whole generation. And the Rebbe says, Matei, there'll be Machshava Dibur U'Maaseh in Inyonim Moshiach. I mean, good things and positive things, elevated things, optimistic things, helpful things to other people. That's what you're going to have. And those Levushim are there, Govo, V'godle Ma'aloson, Alesa HaBechina. These are the Alter Rebbe. In Tanya, this is L'Sheni HaKodim. In Perek Dalet, meaning that wherever a levush, that's a higher koya, oddly enough. But that Kedikach is put down, the Alter Rebbe says in L'Kutei Torah, over there, Pasha Pinchas, when they get to the Knesset, the Eretz Yisrael, and the spies that Yeshua sent, not the ones that Moshe Ben, because they, unfortunately, they blew it. That the Inim from Machshava, Dibur U'Maaseh, that's the way to get into Eretz Yisrael. And when ultimately it comes to the test, who and what is going to take us in Eretz Yisrael, David is not going to look at all, what he got half of a year or what he got tremendous asogya in Pnimius Ach. No, David is going to look at what's with your Machshava Dibur U'Maaseh, what's with the Pasha Inyonim Yolavushim, because they come from very high. They've got a very, very high source. I was once in a place over here years ago, many years ago, when I first took over the job in the yeshiva. I walked into something with the Rav of Kfar Chabad, with the Alter Rav of Kfar Chabad. He said there was some discussion going on between him, and I didn't really know exactly what it was about. I just came in. I was looking to speak with some of the Yidden that were present there, and he was having a meeting with these people. I heard him say one thing that he said, and that's Nageh Le'in Yonein. And he said that a kohen has got certain kedusha. And he said, how does he get that? Through all sorts of different ways. And he said, we, Anshe Chabad, he said, we are kohenim. We are the kohenim of our generation. And he said, therefore we've got all sorts of inyonim, we have to be very careful. He said, we can't do a lot of things that other people can do because we're kohanim. Ad come. L'Sheni, what I heard in that Maisa, and that's a beautiful thing when you think about it, because that's exactly what the Rebbe wants us to be. He wants us to be kohen. We lead the whole people, we're going to take it, we're going to build the base of it. It's totally enough. We don't buy these achashverishes. We don't buy all this Homan business with the whole thing, and that's the union of Lubavitch. Chabad. So that's not chauvinism, that happens to be the case. If you go out on the street, then you can see it, and if you go beyond the street, you can also see it. And that's the union from the Rebbe, what he's the leader of Chabad, he is the leader, he is the Melech HaMashiach, he is the Melech HaMashiach, and that's it, Ein Mala Sot B'zeh. And Mamele, that's the union of the Big Day Kahuna, and therefore, in Lodz, the Begodim Poshet, we don't go big, Zaydin Abekishas, what Zaydin Abekishas is? Well, on Shabbos maybe some people do, but not during the week. We go into long Bekishas Bizderet, and with the Ali Nyonim, Grace Hitter, and all, we go with relatively Poshet to Lavushim. But nonetheless, you have to know that they are Lavushi Koide, and they're Big Day Kahuna, they're Begodim, Muskei Roof of Koye. And if you can't just come any old how, you got to dress up in a decent way, in a tznius way, and in a good way, and in a Yiddish way, and a Chassidish way. That's very, very important. And those are the Big Day Kahuna. And just in order to finish off, everybody said, what on earth is he going to finish? So I'll finish off about hopefully 2 to 3 minutes. But don't hold the stopwatch on. He said, Washington, Nakuda. I thought to myself as I was coming down the stairs to walk into this shiur, it's not an easy task to give this shiur, but you guys will say, well, it's a much harder task to listen to it. But anyway, whatever. It's not an easy task to give it, because I got all sorts of people sitting around, a lot of them are not so willing to listen, but klal v'chulu, and those who are, sometimes got their little mishugasulach and the whole mass. But I want to suggest to you, before we finish, it was fell on my head as I was coming down, and that is that the Tzroyer Amur, he sums up, and he says there are 4 preparations for the Kahuna, like we said. There's a unit for the Big Day Kahuna, what we said, that's Be'ika, when I get to the Kedusha, and there's a unit for Mashiach with the Shem and Amishcha, Rechitza, which is the unit for Tevila, and Akol. Now it seems to me that those are the 4 inyonim when I get to Yiddische Davnen and Beklal Chassidische Davnen. What's it? The first one, is the union from Big Day Kahuna, like we said. You got to have kosher levushim, both in pashtas. You got to wear Chassidish clothes, and at the same time you also got to have machshava, divur, maisa, good, kosher, nice, helpful machshava, divur, and maisa. That's a big day kahuna. Then you got to have Shemana Amishcha. What Shemana Amishcha is, according to Chassidus, is Pnimis HaChochma. What is Pnimis HaChochma? Chochma Stimora Afila. What is that? Chassidus. Pnimis HaTorah. Pnimis HaChochma is Chassidus. So in order to be a kosher in davening, you have to learn a bit of Chassidus. Don't you? And I feel you'll be in Kranash, you also have to learn a bit of Chassidus. But I'm very shocked to have to be able to say anything like that. But that's the way it is. The evening Kranach, And you got to learn a bit of Pnimis I tell you what this in you from Chassidus. And then you got to have Rechitza Mayim. Rashi said Rechitza means Tavila. You got to go to the mikveh. That's a tevun in a mikveh for davening. What is Korban? Korban is the etzim davening itself. That's the etzim meaning. It's well known that the Gemara says in Masechta Brachos that Tfilis Akorbanis Smochuhum. They were they tied up the Korbanis with davening. Korbanis and davening are the same thing. That's the etzim davening. And we got the four things. You gotta have good levushim, big day kahuna. Then you gotta have learning chassidus. Then you gotta have, how do you call it? Go to a mikvah, kosher mikvah, good chassidus, mikvah is galore. And then you gotta daven via korban, and a korban means you gotta have fire, and you gotta have a bit of a mizbeach, you gotta take the Rosh Hashanah and burn him out a bit. At least had he called him, char him a little bit. He didn't manage to completely consume him in the age. And then the Eish will tell the Eish will hear all of our prayers. He will cover all the korbanos from the Yidden. And our prayer is, and everybody knows, that our prayer is, we want Moshiach now. And it's how do you call it? It's intoned and it's brought out with the niggin of Admah. That's even made him more powerful with the wonderful niggin of Yechiah, Melech HaMashiach. And then take him Miyad Mamish, we'll walk into the Beis HaMikdash and we'll see Aaron Abona with the big day kahuna, b'pashtas, and then we'll be able to offer korbanos b'pashtas. Oh man, Cain Yehi. We are the name of Mashiach,